Yasas. This is a heavily revised version of an essay that I wrote called Views on Rights. In this essay, I shall discuss rights. Ordinarily, I believe in democratic rule in the form of a republic, but since I feel that there are times when military rule may become necessary, I shall discuss these under both types. The first group of rights that I will discuss are what I call natural rights, as they should exist in all civilized societies and under all forms of government. These include the right to eat non-genetically modified food, to drink clean water, to obtain shelter and education, at least through a high school or equivalent level, and health care, and the right not to be harmed if you are innocent of a crime. This last includes the banning of all routine infant circumcisions for both sexes. The poor and the disabled should be given money specifically allotted for the purposes of buying food and finding shelter. All other people should be responsible for themselves. Education and health care, in contrast, should be available to all through public funds, with a private option for those who can afford and who desire it. Eating and drinking whatever you want, growing your own food, bringing up your children instead of having them taken by the state, barring abuse, you being a direct threat to the nation, or desiring to have your children adopted, and wearing what you want while at home are all included here. One may wonder why I didn't include the right to life under the category of natural rights. This right depends on several factors. When someone murders, rapes, or severely harms an innocent person, and especially when one harms the nation, I believe that the right to life and/or humane treatment is no longer relevant. What's to stop him from killing and/or harming again? And why should tax money be spent to support him in prison? I also believe in humane euthanasia for those born with such severe physical and/or mental disabilities that they will never be able to understand basic concepts, care for themselves, or express themselves in meaningful ways. In this way, abuse in institutions, especially when they can't speak out about it, possible pain from severe illnesses, and spending of taxpayers' money on caring for them can all be avoided. I also believe that it is essential for the criminally insane to be euthanized for the protection of society at large. Firearms are common in many modern societies, yet I feel that the right to own and carry them should be restricted to the military and the police, even in a republic. But I do not have an issue with civilians owning and using stun guns, BB and airsoft guns, slingshots, bows and arrows, pepper spray, or clubs. Some of these are clearly for hunting and/or target practice, but others can be used for self-defense. Now we come to rights which are an important part of life in a republic, but which can be modified or stripped should martial law be imposed. Freedom of speech is one of the cornerstones of a democratic society. The ability to discuss anything, to use profanity, to speak against the government, and so much more is embodied in this right. Yet even in a free society, certain expressions are frowned upon with good reason. Yelling fire in a crowd where none exists, slandering someone, and sexually harassing someone, though the definition of that is being taken too far these days, are some examples of prohibition against speech. The press, and the media in general, also have their own restrictions. During a dictatorship, these, along with protests and strikes, are among the first freedoms which must be stripped or modified, or they could lead to all sorts of problems. Once democracy is restored, or once things are calm enough to begin the process, these rights can slowly be returned. That said, even under democratic rule, I'm against strikes involving teachers, sanitation workers, postal workers, doctors, police, and fire departments, as all are essential elements to the well-being of a nation. I also don't approve of such things occurring during the workday, since many of these block traffic, thereby preventing others from working. Freedom of speech also includes freedom of expression, such as what to wear in public, what to watch on television and in theaters, and what to write and/or read. These rights can also be modified when necessary, But such laws, with the exception of encouraging parents to dress their children properly, and banning truly hate-filled things or works which may incite serious violence, should not be allowed under democratic rule. Minorities of all kinds, at least in the United States, have made progress in gaining rights, though some, such as tobacco smokers, are now losing them, and others, such as homosexuals and raw milk drinkers, still have a ways to go towards obtaining them. Minority religious groups aren't officially discriminated against, but aren't welcomed everywhere either, and several, such as Hellenic polytheism, Religio Romana, etc., are not considered as valid religions both in America and in their homelands. I fully support the implementation of such rights. After all, I'm a woman, a tobacco smoker, a Hellenic polytheist, and blind, so am a minority in many ways. But during military rule, the leaders may feel it necessary to change these rights, to appease their backers or as part of their own beliefs. Yet even here, I think a line can be drawn. They may suggest that women stay home with their children, and not legally accept gays or followers of non-mainstream religions as equal, but forcing women to stay home by creating laws and or physically harming or arresting homosexuals or followers of non-mainstream religions strictly for those reasons invites totalitarianism, which is never acceptable. I also realize that even without the violence, stripping such rights in countries where they have already been gained can cause financial and other problems, particularly for couples and children. The decision to have a child should never be taken lightly, and there are many reasons why couples or single women may choose not to do so. While I always stress the use of reliable forms of contraception for those who don't want children now but may in the future, and sterilization, when possible, for those who are sure that they don't want biological children, all of these methods can fail for a variety of reasons. If a sterilized woman becomes pregnant, it could be ectopic and could ultimately kill her. So I'm extremely hesitant about modifying these rights. I can agree to banning hormonal contraception, as it can have truly undesirable side effects and can even be dangerous for some women. I could even tolerate abortions being limited only to those which are necessary to prevent the death of the mother and or in which the mother was raped. But I draw the line at banning non-hormonal contraception, such as condoms, diaphragms, spermicide, sponges, and so on, and not allowing a woman to go to another country to have an abortion performed. Yet in a free society, not only do I support government funding of organizations such as Planned Parenthood and sex education in high schools, but I also think that those who harass women at abortion clinics should be arrested and fined on the first offense and imprisoned on the second. The final right that I will discuss is the right for the innocent to die according to their wishes. While I do think that those considering suicide should be counseled, if, after the sessions, they still feel they should take their own lives, then they are making an informed decision and should be allowed to do so. Of course, no one wants to lose a loved one to suicide, but ultimately it is their choice. I also believe that there should be a law which enables the terminally ill to commit assisted suicide, and that those who are healthy should be allowed to create a living will stating that if certain conditions of their choosing are met, and they are unable to express their desires at the time, their lives could be terminated. As I have demonstrated, my views on rights are many and varied. Depending on the type of political rule, some may be taken, but certain rights must always exist in a society in order to keep it civil.